I'm Gene Grant here in the studios of New Mexico PBS with our Line Opinion panelists. Now, we're getting ready to talk about some of the top news stories this week. But before we start, we ask all of our panelists an off-the-cuff question as a warm-up. In advance of International Women's Day, Mattel is introducing its Inspiring Women Dolls series. These historical dolls come with educational information about the contributions each woman made to society in their respective fields. The first three dolls in the series are aviator Amelia Earhart, artist Frida Kahlo, and mathematics pioneer Katherine Johnson. Featured in the movie Hidden Figures, you might remember her. Other inspiring women Barbie dolls will surely join in the series. And Sophie, I'll start with you. Of the three I mentioned, or perhaps you'd like to add, which one would you buy? Do you have a niece? I seem to remember
a small niece
that you're very fond of. Is this something that would appeal to you?
Oh
to give to
yeah.
her? Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I also right after college, I was a nanny at the time that the American Girl dolls came out.
Right.
And I remember the investment that the little girls who had those dolls made in the stories and the lifelines, et cetera, of these fictional characters that are those dolls. And I think like how much more meaningful that these are real people.
Yep.
I just bought for Frances a book about rad women, and including Dolores Huerta and now I can't remember anybody else. Amelia Earhart is in there, and I think it's important for girls to have those role models. And I also think it's important, so often in the past, role models have been limited to white role models. And I think it's really important that Mattel has broadened the scope there to include people of color. And I'll tell you, Frances Elizabeth, her dolls are all colors, all names, the whole thing. She's really, her generation, I think, is going to embrace multiculturalism in a way that Generation X just sort of hoped would happen.
It's been for the sciences out there. The dolls, we think they use the benign things. They're not. They have the things
Real
you look
impact.
at. Exactly right. It means something. Sophie makes a good point telling that Chloe Kim, recent Olympic gold medalist for the United States, is one of the dolls that is coming out, and she was so interesting to hear her surprise. And I could imagine this as seeing your own self as a Barbie doll in real time.
Used to be you got your face on a box of Wheaties,
right?
But now you got a doll. That's pretty cool.
Exactly right. Yeah.
I think that thinking about my daughters, they would have different dolls that they would go right to. Of course, they were really into the American Girl dolls at the time, but Frida Kahlo, I think, is one, and then the other, my oldest would go probably for that doll, and then my youngest would go for the Amelia Earhart doll.
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly right. I was big on American Girl as well at the time. Those were not cheap. Those American Girl dolls. I seem to remember that. Right, exactly. Daniel, what do you think? You got boys, but
I have a daughter.
You have a daughter. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting
Boys
about her.
can play with
Sorry
dolls.
about that.
I just want to clarify, you were big on American.
I would buy them for my oldest daughter.
Oh, I just wanted, you just said you were big on it. So
No. It was so big. There was an after-school American Girl program at Marie Hughes, where she went on the west side of Albuquerque, loaded with girls with their American Girl dolls. It was the most adorable thing in the world.
So my daughter was never into. She had like stuffed animals that she did. She never really got into collecting dolls and messing with dolls.
Right.
That may have been, the fact that she had three older brothers, and so she was more concerned with chasing balls and doing other things with them. My sister, I remember my sister went through the Cabbage Patch phase.
Oh yeah.
She was getting the Cabbage Patch phase, Cabbage Patch dolls. It's going to be interesting to see. One of the things that's going to be interesting to see as they come out with these dolls over the course of time. Is there going to be diversity of thought as well as there is in the diversity of the faces they're putting on there?
Absolutely.
Will a Condoleezza Rice make one of these dolls?
Right.
If you take out her conservative views, by any means, rising to the level of she rose to, where she came from, what she's done, what she's still accomplishing is phenomenal. So, it's just going to be interesting to see if diversity of thought or political view will make it into Mattel, as well as diversity of color and
I get behind that.
And where they're from.
Absolutely, yeah, good, fair point there. Absolutely. Inez, what do you think? You have kids, but are they past the doll phase? But looking at the whole of society, it can only be a plus. Mattel seems to have come up with something interesting here.
Well, I think that for any little girl, seeing someone who looks like yourself in a doll is pretty exciting. But also seeing the possibilities of career, of thought. To have an Amelia Earhart doll, maybe they'll sell a plane to go with it, and maybe a little girl will get interested in flying. and hopefully little boys will play with them too, because boys need to know that girls are about more than being pretty, or, you know, the old Barbie that was the figure that wasn't real in life. And so hopefully these dolls are more anatomically correct, so that we see them as possibilities and can see them in ourselves as well as something, as opposed to something that we can never be.
It's always interesting when you see a big corporation put its ear to the ground and make a huge change in how they do things. Because if you think about it, the Barbie thing was working for them before, but you know, times change and it sort of fell out of relevance, and they had to do something.
I know a lot of moms who are like, no Barbie will ever cross my threshold.
That's
Oh
right.
my gosh, I still play with mine.
You know, I think it's interesting.
I love my Barbies.
We look back. We were just going through some pictures the other day. And we looked at some pictures of my wife when she was really young. My wife was born in Japan and came over when she was little, and all of her dolls were Japanese dolls. I mean, so she's got pictures of her standing there holding all these dolls that look like her.
Right.
You know, and when she moved here, you didn't buy that stuff in the United States.
I'm glad you got that point in. That's interesting. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Good on Mattel. Good stuff.